guys, we are on to packet number 2. If you haven't gotten it, please, please, please go get it. It's so important because I think there's a lot of writing and it will really help keep you organized. So make sure you pick up your packet. What's due on the 14th is your Delta Math assignment. There's a new Delta Math assignment, and there is a homework quiz, which hopefully you have accessed, because if you are watching this video, you should be in the homework quiz. All right. So when you open up to this page, we're going to just do some definitions because you need to know what we're talking about. Hopefully this is going to be review, but it is important. So make sure you guys understand this. The coordinate plane is formed by the intersection of two lines, the horizontal axis and the vertical axis. So that looks like, here's your horizontal axis, which is basically your x-axis. Here's your vertical axis, which is very much your y-axis. So, and that would be your coordinate plane. Your x-axis is the horizontal axis. And what's important is that you understand this is your x-axis. This is where you are going to find your x values, which are also your domain, which we'll talk about later, but we're going to be going into that. Your y-axis is your vertical axis. And just keep in mind, you need to understand what horizontal and vertical means. Horizontal is side to side. Vertical is up and down. All right, this is your y values. This is where you would find your range. Okay, so on your coordinate plane, that's going to be your y-axis right there. Okay, your quadrants in your coordinate plane. Your quadrants are labeled as there's 4 regions. Separate which the x and y axes separate. Okay, so here's your quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. So notice that these go in this direction, okay? That is important. All right, the origin. This is your point at which the x-axis and y-axis intersect. Okay, so if you've got your y-axis here, your x-axis here, this forms a 90-degree angle. This point right here is your 0, 0 origin, all right? Your ordered pairs, okay, is a set of numbers, which is, or coordinates. Oh, sorry, C-O-O-R-D-I-N-N-T-E-S, written as X, Y. All right. So for an example, if you have 1, 5, this is going to be your X coordinate. This is going to be your Y coordinate. So for example, on a coordinate plane, you would go to the 1 this way and up 5. All right. Your X coordinate is basically your X value of an ordered pair.
See, it says fail to start the video camera. Yeah, that did something.
All right. So again, if you have a ordered pair, this is your x coordinate right here. All right, and there you go. All right, moving on. Your y coordinate is basically the y value. All right, so this is going to be your y value of your ordered pair. So if you have, for example, 5, 12, this is going to be your y value, which is going to be, it's not fitting very well, which is going to be 5, and then it's going to be your 12. So that's going to be 12 units up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Just say that's like that. All right. A discrete graph is something that hopefully you guys have heard of. It's not something that I think you're going to be super familiar with. This is where you have points on a graph that are points on a graph that are not connected. All right. So that would look like basically just an ordered various points on the graph. All right, just like that. All right, and then a continuous graph is basically a points on a graph that are connected. All right, so there you go. So for an example, if I have just even any basic line or something like this, those points, because what you really need to understand is that all of this line is made up of a bunch of teeny tiny little points that are so close together that it looks like they are making a continuous graph when really they're all different points, all right? So, now, last, I'm just going to go through the range. A relation is basically a set of ordered pairs, all right? This is basically just if you have 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 9, 7, 5. These would be a set of ordered pairs. This would be a relation, okay? Domain is always going to be the set of values. The set of values that represent your x values. All right. And so for an example, in this situation up here, in this relation, your domain would be 1, 2, 3, 7. Okay? So it would be x is the set of numbers 1, 2, 3, 7. And then in your range would be the set of y values.
Oh, Jesus.
All right? So in this situation, your y values would be 1, 2, 9, 5. So this would be your domain of the relation up here. This would be your range. All right. So that's about all we're going to do as far as vocabulary goes for right now. We will finish the rest of these later. So I want you to turn your packet here to this page right. So as we talked about, the coordinate plane is basically a graph or a graph. I'm just going to write graph divided into 4 regions, or quadrants, I should say quadrants, used for graphing. All right. And so if I'm going to label the origin, the quadrants, the x-axis, and the y-axis, the origin would be right here. This is your 0, 0 origin. My quadrants, this would be quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. My x-axis would be right here, this horizontal line right here, x-axis. And my y-axis would be this one right here, my vertical line. So this is my y-axis. And it's so important that you know this very, very, very well. All right? All right. An ordered pair is just a point on the graph. And so if we're going to identify the ordered pairs in the quadrant of each point, if you can go ahead and pause the video and do that, that would be very beneficial to you. You need to make sure that you know how to do these. Now remember, your x is on the left, your y value is on the right, okay? So for an example, point A would be, this is 0, 0, so I'm going to go over 1, 2, 3, so that would be -3, and up 1, 2, 3, 4, +4. So my x value would be -3, my y value would be +4, and this is in quadrant 2. All right, so pause the video, see if you can label all the others. All right, so hopefully you got these as your ordered pairs. If not, then double check and you'll see if you understand. Now I left these blank, and why did I leave those blank? It's not that they are actually not in a quadrant. C is right here, and that is on the y-axis. So it's actually not in a quadrant, just like F is on the x-axis. So it is, again, not in a quadrant. All right, moving on. Discrete graph, as we talked about, is a graph of distinct points. And what that looks like is it does not have any continuity to it. So basically, it's just going to look like points. And they may be in a specific order. They may form some sort of, but it's just, they are not connected. All right. Unlike a continuous graph, which basically is a graph with connected lines. And these are so important because one of the things that is important to understand is when I have a line that looks, say it's even just a straight line, every number is represented on the x-axis. Every number is represented. Whereas here, the only numbers represented are the ones that are relatable to a point. So that is going to be the big difference between these two graphs, is what numbers are represented. And we'll talk a little bit more about that when we go over domain and range. So when we have relations, flipping over to this page, we want to make sure that you understand that a relation is basically just a set of ordered pairs. Ordered pairs. All right, and it can be represented in any 4 of these ways, okay? The x values are your domain. So important. So important. And your y values are your range. All right, so just keep that in mind. All right, so in this situation, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sets of ordered pairs. What is the domain? Well, these are my x values. So I'm just going to look, and we know that in an ordered pair, it's x comma y. So I'm going to just look at all of the first numbers of this relation. So the first number is -3 right here, then -2 right here, 1, 3, and -3 again. All right, and the range are the y values. All right, so I'm just going to look at the y values here. That's going to be 1 right here, 0. I actually write 0. 0 is a number. 2, -4, and 5. All right. Now, if I was going to translate this into a table, I would just put the x values, which are associated with the y values. So you can't just put random x values and random y values. They actually have to be the ordered pair here, okay? So for an example, -3, if I put that first, I'm going to put 1 here because that's that ordered pair. So then I know that they're grouped together. All right, so then I'd have -2, 0. I'd have 1, 2, 3, -4, and -3, 5. So I know that each of these actually go together. All right. Now, in your mapping, you again put your x values in one, your y values in the other. The only difference is you go from highest to lowest. All right. So in your mapping, you're going to go high to low. So you actually look at your x values and you only put them in once. So for an example, I have a -3 here and a -3 here. I'm only going to put those in once. My highest number here is 3, then 1, then -2, and then -3. And I'm just writing them in. And then my y values are, I'm going to do the same thing, high to low. My highest is 5. Then I go to 2, then 1, then 0, and -4. And you notice that since I have my -3 repeating, I have more y values than x values, and that's okay. Now the important part of mapping is then I have to tell you what numbers go with what. So what number does 3 go with? Well, 3 is paired up with -4. So I'm going to draw a line from 3 to -4. What number is 1 paired up with? Well, 1 is paired up with 2. So I'm going to draw a line from 1 to 2. What number is -2 paired up with? Well, it's paired up with 0. So I'm going to draw a line to 0. What number is -3 paired up with? Well, it's paired up with 1, and it's also paired up with 5. So I have to draw 2 lines and make sure that they each go in. So that is what shows here. That you pair these all up, that you show it this way. All right? This is actually what we're going to use the least, but you do need to be familiar with it. And then the graph. So we can just go ahead and plot these ordered pair points, all right? So if you plot them, actually go ahead and plot them and then come back. I'm going to pause the video. So there you go. So there's what your graph should look like with those 5 points. So I should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. So what I'd like for you to do is go ahead and finish this on your own, and then I'm going to show you the answers after when you get back, because I'm going to pause it, I'm going to work the answers, and so when you just pause it now, try and get as far as you can and do it all. And this one's a little bit different because you actually have to create, I'm going to probably go from here to my ordered pairs here. I'm going to create all my ordered pairs first. So this one I would go -2, 1, 2, 3 and put -2, 3. And then just do each one of those. All right. So that's, and then you can fill in the rest of the stuff after you get your order pairs. So pause the video now and see, and then.
Hey, Kirk, be ready.
All right, you guys, make sure you check your answers. And let me just tell you, I screwed up and I put high to low. These actually go from low to high. So I want to tell you that these actually go from low to high. So if you did it the way that I told you, don't worry about it. That's fine. These actually also go from low to high. And then this actually goes from low to high based on your X values. The Y follows the X values. So you notice here's -3 and then +4 and then -2 because these have to be in ordered pair order. All right. So you go low to high based on the X value in your table. The mapping, you go low to high for your X's and your low to high for your Y's. And here you go low to high, low to high. All right. So if you did it differently, that's okay. Just know from now going on that it does. There you go. All right. That's the end of this video because the next video is really super important and I don't want to put that information at the end of this video. So that's it for this time, and then just watch the next video as well. All right. It'll be shorter.